Today we have this important webinar on preparedness and responsiveness of Panchayati Raj institutions in dealing with reverse migration. As all of us know that what is happening right now in the country, and after lockdown was announced on 20th of March, there was a lot of reverse migration started from big cities, not only from the metro cities but also from the smaller and medium towns towards the villages, especially जो आपके स्टेट्स हैं उड़ीसा, बिहार, वेस्ट बंगाल, राजस्थान, मध्य प्रदेश. So a lot of reverse migration has started to these states, and these people are actually working on in informal as informal workers, maybe on the construction sites, rickshaw pullers, in some informal, other kind of informal works, and find it difficult to they have a fear that how they are going to survive over the next 21 days of lockdown period. And as all of us know that it is very difficult, the kind of informalities are in the cities, it is very difficult to sustain the people, those who are in the informal work, working in the informal workplace, and they have a very limited resources to sustain themselves over the longer period of this kind of lockdown, where none of the activities are happening, no economic activities are happening, and they are not getting their livelihoods. बहुत सारे इसमें से लोग ऐसे थे जो कि दिहाड़ी मजदूर के तौर पे काम करते थे, और उनका जिस प्रकार से उन्होंने इसको देखा कि अब कहीं ना कहीं ये मुश्किल हो रहा है उनके लिए कि एक तरफ तो जहाँ पे वो शहरों में रह रहे हैं वहाँ पे एक मकान का किराया है, परिवार को पालने की जिम्मेदारी है, और कैसे वो इस चीज से निपट पाएंगे. तो उन लोगों ने फैसला किया कि वो वापस अपने गांव की तरफ जाना शुरू किया. देन देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम एट द विलेजेस लेवल, जहाँ पे ये रिवर्स माइग्रेशन शुरू हुआ कि कैसे वो विलेजेस तैयार थे या वो स्टेट्स तैयार थे रिवर्स माइग्रेशन को रोकने के लिए, इस रिवर्स माइग्रेशन से डील करने के लिए. तो आज हमने ये कोशिश की है इस वेबिनार के माध्यम से कि हम कुछ ऐसे प्रश्नों पे we try to answer few of these questions, that how panchayats can support to and provide, and how they can help these migrant workers to deal with this difficult times. So there are few things which needs to be understood before this thing, that how to prevent health measures under COVID-19 and entitlements announced by the states and central governments, right to livelihood and social security to migrants, synergizing the efforts by government and civil society, and developing an information system at the Gram Panchayat level about the migrants. So now, in order to understand these things, we'll see that what are the key questions we need to answer before going into that. So we have like these three questions for today's webinar. That what are some of the immediate responses panchayats are making to address vulnerabilities arising out of the reverse migration? What roles can PRIs plays to deal with pandemic and its impacts in the medium term? And how can Panchayati Raj institutions be supported to play such roles effectively and sensibly? So these are the key questions we are going to address today. And besides that, there are a lot of questions our participants has already forwarded us during their registration process. So we are also taking account those questions. And today we have a very esteemed panel with us. We have Dr. Joy Elman, who is right now director at the Kerala Institute of Local Administration. We have Jagdananda ji. He's a mentor and founder director of Center for Youth and Social Development, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. We have with us Ms. Rita Sareen. She's a country director to the Hunger Project. We have Dr. Yogesh Kumar with us. He is Executive Director, Samarthan, in Bhopal. We are expecting Dr. W.R. Reddy, Director General, NIRDPR, but due to his another engagement, important meeting, he has nominated Dr. Dilip Kumar Paul. He is a senior consultant to the project-led consultant to NIRD, and he served as a special secretary in the Panchayati Raj and Rural Development in the government of West Bengal. Then we have Dr. Rajesh Tandon. He's a founder president of PRIA. We'll go through this order and we'll try to understand what is happening around the states, how states are dealing with these issues of reverse migration, and how the states are helping Panchayati Raj institutions to deal with this situation. What kind of capacity building requirements are there, and what needs to be done to deal with this issue. So not taking much of time, first of all, I would like to briefly introduce how we are going to do this webinar. सबसे पहले हम लोग जो हमारे पैनलिस्ट हैं उनको हम सुनेंगे 10-10 मिनट. इसी ऑर्डर में हम अपने पैनलिस्ट से बात करेंगे और उनको 10-10 मिनट सुनेंगे. उसके बाद विल ओपन फॉर क्वेश्चन एंड आंसर्स. पार्टिसिपेंट्स आप लोग देख रहे होंगे कि देयर इज अ Q&A आइकन on your screen, so you can type your questions here, and in between few of the panelists, if they want to answer your questions, they can answer using Q&A, and it will be like directed to the specific participant, or it may be directed to all the participants. Then after we are listening all the panelists, we'll open this floor for question and answers. So the question and answer can be, you can raise your hand. There is an option in your on the right of your name in the attendee list. There is an option you can raise your hand and you can ask questions. It will allow you to ask the question, and the question may be directed to the specific panelist, or can have a general question which any of the panelists will be able to answer. Okay, so we'll start now with Dr. Joy Elman, and Dr. Elman will help us to understand how Kerala is managing the reverse migration, and how these Panchayati Raj institutions in Kerala is dealing with this situation. And we are also listening through media and this thing that the decentralization model of the Kerala is very would be very helpful in dealing with the situation. So Dr. Joy, if you can throw some light on that, and you can also help us to understand that what Panchayati Raj institutions in Kerala are doing right now, how they are dealing with this situation, and then you can also help us to understand that what can be done further, what kind of capacity building requirements PRIs should have, and what can be done further. Okay, so it is over to you, Joy.
Thank you, Anshuman, and good morning. Thanks to PRIA for organizing this webinar on COVID-19 preparedness and responsiveness of PRIs in dealing with reverse migration. So what I'm asked to talk on is how Kerala is managing reverse migration. I'm only talking about the Kerala or the local governments, not about the entire state, about the government machinery. I'm talking only about the local governments actually. And first I will actually narrate what's happening, and then Anshuman had already sent us a few questions which have been sent by others. So I have picked up around 5 questions which are directly relevant to what I'm talking. So I'll answer that also within this 10 minutes. So my time starts now, I think. So as you all know, Kerala has faced various disasters during the last couple of years or 3 years. And this is the latest of those things, the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, none of us could actually believe how much it would be and all kinds of things. But throughout all this, whether it's the previous disasters or the present one, the Kerala's local governments, especially the Gram Panchayats, have been doing, quite a big, having taken quite a prominent roles, and they have always been in the first line, in the line of response actually. Especially if you talk about that, it is about basically about their knowledge of grassroots level realities and the communication mechanism within the community. Those are all coming up in the forefront in dealing with such a situation. And for all newcomers, I would also like to say that this time the panchayats are armed with another important device. We have actually been right from December 2019. We have started, the PRIs in Kerala have started preparing the local level disaster management plans. And it was midway through that we had actually had to face this COVID-19. But out of around 1,000 odd local governments, around 700 are already prepared the draft disaster management plans, and this has become handy in dealing with this. That's an important lesson we learned, all of us would learn from this. So the preparedness of our local governments, though those were prepared in the context of the landslides, the floods and other things, many things which we dealt with in disaster management plan has a lot of relevance at the moment. And of course, when this COVID-19 had come in, initially it was a health-oriented kind of thing. It was an epidemic kind of approach, not even pandemic. And so naturally it was the Department of Health and Family Welfare which was in the forefront. But then this local level health institutions like the primary health centers, sub-centers are all transferred institutions of the panchayats. Naturally, panchayats had also started playing a role there. But when it became the pandemic and declared as a disaster in the country, naturally the disaster management authority comes into the forefront, and naturally the whole line has changed. But then I will come to that later, how panchayats play a role during this stage. Anyway, it's about the long-term strategy now. It's not merely a health or a clinical approach, but it has to be community-led approach. And naturally, local governments, the panchayats, play a major role. And especially initially, it is about the awareness generation camps. We call it the Break the Chain campaign, where the social distancing and hand washing and all came. And also identifying the vulnerable populations like the SCs, the STs, the coastal communities, the slum dwellers, MGNRIGS workers, energy members, migrant laborers. So the awareness generation campaigns were done through the panchayats. Then came the reverse migration. Actually, you know that, all of you know that Kerala has the largest group of migrants who work outside Kerala, outside India, all over the world. And naturally, people have slowly started coming in. Initially, it was all through the airports. And right from there, the health department had started checking and screening and all kinds of things. But then, once these people come back to their villages, naturally, they needed isolation, quarantine sometimes, and how do you do that? If many of them initially were quarantined or isolated at home, but then somebody had to keep a check on it. And that is where the ward level, because we have the ward system, ward level committees under the leadership of the elected member of the ward becomes the major group. They have their health counterparts there, the ASHA workers there, the Kudumbasri or the SHG workers there, panchayat staff there, and they all together at the ward level started doing the surveillance of the quarantine or the home isolation. But then the number, when it went up, naturally some of them had to be in the community quarantine centers or community isolation centers, which were all instituted by the panchayats. So the identification of the locations, identification of the buildings, and then all arrangements, everything was done. Of course, under the leadership of the district disaster management authorities and their directions. But so the protocols and everything developed by them, but the panchayats actually do the work there. Naturally, one of the major issues there would be, one or two of the major issues would be One is the food arrangements, where panchayats are having the community kitchens. So, I mean, this kitchens actually is not a hotel kind of thing. So people have to take the packets, parcels to the places where people stay, because you don't allow people to come together and sit and eat. So the large group of volunteers who literally go, and all these are manned, by the panchayats. And the preparation, everything is actually looked after by the panchayats at that time. And then, in the meantime, there are also after the community kitchens and the quarantine or the isolation, all those people under isolation, the vulnerables are all provided food from the community kitchens. Then the surveillance by the panchayats, every day they report how many people are in quarantine now, how many people are in isolation, how many have come out of that, the family members, everything is tracked by the panchayats and sent to health authorities, government, district authorities, as well as the state authorities, so that everyday monitoring happens right from the lower level by the panchayat and then upwards kind of thing. And then, as I said, the volunteer teams led by the panchayats are there. And then the issue of migrant workers. So Kerala over the last 1 decade or so has a lot of migrant workers. Here it's the official terminology used was guest workers or guest laborers, and so we also had to take care of that, for which the local governments, the panchayats, took a massive exercise of counting them, what are the situations in each of their places where they dwell, and then if required they are moved into camps, or in their own places the panchayats provide free food or free food kits depending upon what they require. And also another issue is about the maintaining the sanitation and other things. All these are done through a great level of preparedness from the panchayat volunteer side also. So reverse migration, when it comes, especially it's the isolation and finding place and other things. But I would also say we are expecting a larger reverse migration once the lockdown is lifted. And there, actually, this lockdown period is considered by the panchayats as the planning period, where they are actually preparing for every kind of issues which might come up, especially when it comes to reverse migration. So they are already planning or identifying buildings, houses, abandoned houses, or buildings, hostels, hotels, lodges, everything, and numbering it, taking count of it, what are the issues, what are the requirements, everything is prepared. There are protocols made, because basically two approaches are there. One is just isolation. Second one is, if doubtful or symptomatic, then moved into a first-line treatment center. Again, there will be the center for, but supported by the health department. The physical establishment and everything will be done by the panchayat, the day-to-day management and other things, whereas the health authorities provide the clinical support kind of thing. So all those identifications, so that whenever an issue comes, within 48 hours, we have the isolation centers and the first-line treatment centers in place. That is how the panchayats have started the preparation. But we are also into the process of another exercise where we talk about the reverse quarantine. Reverse quarantine is where the vulnerable population, especially the elderly and others who are sick and others, who might have the tendency to get COVID faster or difficult situations. So we need to actually quarantine them in a different way. So it's the reverse quarantine which they are also talking about. So these are some of the things which the panchayats do at the moment. And I will take only 1.5 minutes more just to answer 5 just questions. We'll discuss it later also. See, involvement of training entities for fighting it. So that's where we come in as KILA. So we provide support to the state government for preparing all these things, all the protocols and other things. One. Second, we also provide PowerPoints on each of the topics. How do they prepare step by step? The videos of that and also audios of that. And some of them have been also been translated into English and Hindi. so that others can also just have a look at it and see how it can be developed in their own states. So that is one of the things. And then we also have mechanisms where our district facilitators or district coordinators, they have direct contact with the panchayats. Once they send their PowerPoints and videos and all, and it's also talking over phone or email on how our WhatsApp groups in panchayats, so that this is done. Second question is about fund devolution through PRS to address the crisis. See, at the moment, they can raise resources from people. Second one, most of our panchayats also have their own fund through the taxes collected, which they can use for this one. Third, we are also earmarking our planned funds to the panchayats, they can use that. And the SDRF, the Disaster Relief Fund, that can be used for specific purposes like for managing the destitutes, managing the migrant workers and other things, other people. So these are the 4 ways in which panchayats get their money or use their money for this purpose. And many of the things come as voluntary contribution in term by not only money, but in kind and cash kind of thing. So most of the buildings and other things are actually given on a free basis. Many are volunteers, so that is how we manage. The third question is, empowering the PRAs to start a documentation process of these migrants. We do exactly that. At the moment, the panchayats have collected details about 3.79 migrant workers or guest laborers in Kerala, their situation, from where they come, and all those things. So it's a good database which they have prepared. And fourth question is about the role of SHGs. And you all know that we have this Kudumbashree network, the Women SHG network. The advantage of the Kudumbashree network is they are also a subset of the Panchayat Raj system in Kerala, so that they work together. So many of these activities are done by the SHGs, whether it is a community kitchen or many of the surveillance programs and all kinds of things. Kudumbashree volunteers also take part, especially when you look at the home isolation, the community counseling they do to people at home in isolation, and all those things happen through the Kudumbashree volunteers. So that's how the SHGs and panchayats together work together. And the final question which I wanted to answer was, do the panchayat have any right to work in disaster management? This is a major question which have been answered last year by us, not last year, a couple of years back. When the floods affected us, it was very clear that the panchayats play a major role, because first respondent is the first respondent. The local people can respond first, and that's it. But then later, if you look at the National Disaster Management Act, it clearly says that there are plans to be prepared at the local level. So local bodies have to play a major role. And if you, at least in our case, we know that in the district disaster management authority, when the district collector is the chairperson, the co-chairperson is the district panchayat president, which means we are part of it. The Panchayat Raj system is part of it. And then in many, I can actually talk on that itself in a different time, on a different time, where clearly the National Disaster Management Act has provided provisions for the panchayats to play a major role in local disaster management. So, when you ask, have any right to work in disaster management, it is not just right to work in disaster management, it is actually the role responsible to work in disaster management. That's how I end it. So what I tried to say was that now that this is a different kind of disaster which affects us, naturally panchayats have to play a major role at the local level, especially when we are talking about reverse migration, where people come back to their houses and homes. Naturally, all these support mechanisms have to go through the Panchayat Raj system. The state machinery or the national machinery cannot go up to the household level. And naturally, it is the panchayat which has to play a major role. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Joy. This is very useful. We'll come back to you with more questions. Now over to Jagdaji. So Jagdaji will want to listen from your experience that what is happening in Odisha and how what Panchayati Raj institutions are doing there, and how the experiences of Panchayati Raj institutions, what they are doing in Odisha, can be learned from, other states can learn from Odisha. And what is the state's take on that, and how the state is looking at the disaster management in terms of reverse migration in Odisha? Thank you.
Anshuman and friends, as I'm speaking now, the lockdown is extended until 3rd May. So this is a huge, what you call extended period of lockdown. And the class bias is already demonstrated as I see them, right? You can airlift students from Wuhan, you can airlift employees from different countries, different cities, but our poor migrants are not being lifted from anywhere. And the poor ones who are waiting to leave for their home districts around 14th, 15th, that chance is gone now, and they have to wait for until 3rd May in relief camps located in other states actually. And in Odisha, we have almost about more than 200,000 migrants who are waiting to come back, who are stranded in different camps at this point of time, and about 55,000 migrants from other states who are stranded in Odisha, and they are being fed on a daily basis in camps spread over 1,100 in numbers. And then as I also speak, I see we are involved in two very interesting things. This morning, we are involved in the colony of, in 2-3 settlements where we are trying to support the rag pickers and the what you call waste collectors and their families with a survival kit. And then the second thing which we are doing with the Bhubaneswar Municipal Corporation here is a pilot where we can, use the drone for drone-based spraying of sodium hydrochloride solutions in the containment zones. And I stay in a containment zone located in Bhubaneswar out of 3 containment zones. So that is the background from where I come from. Now, I think Joy has given a very elaborate account of what Kerala is doing in the Panchayat front. But let me also give you some idea of the size of this problem actually. The size of the problem in Odisha is a big problem. And Joy would certainly endorse the migrant workers from Odisha who are stranded in Kerala. Their number is not a small number. It's a very big number. And as I said in the beginning, Odisha is handling about 50,000 plus migrants from other states, but I'm sure Kerala, maybe that number is bigger than what we face here, because in migration, Odisha used to be long back a kind of destination state. Now it's a source state and also a destination state for some, but both the source and destination for migrant workers are here. And then the question is, these 200,000 migrants, 200,000 plus, when they're likely to return immediately after the lockdown, and they're desperate to come back, that is one. The second set of migrants who are likely to return is this trained DDK GKY trainees actually, who got some 2-3 months of some hand-holding training. They're working in Tirupur in apparel industry, in Bangalore in other industries, and their number is also not a small number. And on an average, every year, Odisha sends these so-called DDU, GKY, semi-trained, what you call skilled workers under the Skill India mission, almost on an average of 50,000 per year actually. And over last 5 years, if you see that number has also swelled, and they are also desperate to come back, but their situation is little better, but they're definitely desperate to come back. So this big number is going to come back, and PRIs in our respective states in Odisha, they're likely to, host them in their neighborhood. So in Odisha, government of Odisha has given them a financial resource allocation of about 500,000 rupees for dealing with this issue immediately. And then the issue is they are supposed to run the quarantine centers like other states, and then they are supposed to organize the meal distribution program, the food distribution program, and then the panchayats are also supposed to ensure that the PDS system also functions, because in Odisha, both food security wise 3 months ration and 1,000 rupees is given to all PDS card holders and Antyodaya card holders. And for those who would like to know, Antyodaya is a scheme which is given to the most vulnerable segment of the village. Somebody who has nothing to do, so then the person comes under the Antyodaya scheme, so that there is a special package given to the person to survive actually, and in the absence of any other alternative livelihood. So that is the PDS thing. And then there is the third thing which is happening in the panchayats and in some districts like Ganjam, where they are doing a house-to-house health surveillance through health workers and paramedical professionals and the ASA and ANMs. So that is what is happening in the panchayat area. But this is done through a track that is run by the health department. But panchayats are also involved there. So this is the size and this is what is happening. So my third part is, let me also say, before I move to what civil society is doing and what civil society can do, let me tell you, there are about 5 areas in which civil society is involved, and panchayats are likely to be involved from now onwards. The first area is we have about, let's say, how many? I think about high burden, 11 districts out of 30 districts are high burden districts, because the largest migration takes place from these districts, and they are partly in South and West Odisha. And but the pity is, at the panchayat level, we don't have the records of the migrant workers. On a pilot basis, 1 or 2 places that has been done, but panchayats are not really maintaining the records of migrant workers, the seasons in which they're migrating, the time when they're likely to come back, and the time when they may demand for MGNREGA and things like that. So therefore, I think one of the area which was piloted in Odisha in a couple of districts like Noapada, Kalahandi, etc., through a program by Tata Trust and state government labor department at some point of time, was the running of migration resource centers, where the records are maintained and the source and destination addresses for communication are available, and the linkages with the migrant workers are also established. I think at this point of time, this, reviving these migration resource centers in all the 11 high burden districts is very, very important. And I think, according to me, this has to be done actually. And then second is the workers database. Workers database of what you call of construction workers and other workers, because construction worker board is distributing now 1,500 rupees, a kind of relief out of the SDRF money, the State Disaster Response Fund money, and that 1,500 rupees is supposed to be distributed in the panchayat areas. So if the workers database is maintained well, this distribution is done fairly well and very efficiently and effectively. So that is the second part. Third is, Government of Odisha has already announced to run to continue with the MGNREGA program, and the Prime Minister also is very keen. The Union government is also focusing. But, and to do that, you need certain decisions at the Palli Sabha level, at the Gram Sabha level, and that has to be done. So before the country went to lockdown, Odisha had done special Gram Sabhas, special Palli Sabhas between 18th and 20th to finalize the self-help projects. And these self-help projects, and then the further guidelines on MGNREGA was even household work, household repair, and all that work can be done under MGNREGA. But so that is the other work. And then the fourth piece of work is today, this is the time for minor forest produce, what you call harvesting. Whether you talk of tamarind, you talk of kendu leaf, you talk of chiranji, you talk of many non-timber forest produce. This is the harvesting season and harvesting time. So how do you really ensure a fair play of offering minimum support price to the collectors, to the forest dwellers, and at the same time ensure that they really go? So that is the other point actually. And then, as I said in the beginning, the health surveillance that is taking place and running of the quarantine centers. Then the final point I would like to say is, the potential areas is this, because there are a lot of entitlements which are flowing. How do you do a entitlement monitoring actually in the panchayats? And entitlement monitoring can never be done by panchayats. But if civil society organizations provide a kind of handholding support, then this can be done. So to do that, what we have done, right, let me come with my PowerPoint. Yes. So what we have done, we have set up a citizens action group on Corona Odisha. That means, district-wise, civil society organizations are fairly grouped together to help provide help and relief to people affected, but especially to provide handholding support to the panchayats in the rural areas and handholding support to the local bodies in the urban areas. Then the second, task which we had given to ourselves is mediate and facilitate implementation of the policies and measures aimed at countering the economic fallout of the COVID-19. What I said, entitlement monitoring, both food security, both social security, and then the other economic security measures. Then the third part is civil society is also playing the role of a real-time feedback actually, providing real-time feedback of what is happening on the ground, what should be done. So that is, and then identify and outline what are the immediate policy tweaks, legal remedies, and other state actions that are necessary to bridge the gaps. At the same time, at the state level, civil societies from across the districts, we have formed a kind of working group to really work on a long-term basis, to design longer-term social and economic blueprint for a post-COVID Odisha actually. And, we are trying our best to ensure participation, inclusion of all segments, all stakeholders, trying to behave like a credible voice, and also trying to articulate the deprivations wherever they are happening, so that there is a collective voice, and that is the kind of role which is being played by civil society. So I should stop here, and I think it has been a very interesting journey ever since the lockout started, but it's really moving very positively, very constructively, and both in terms of our engagement at the panchayat end, our engagement with the district officials, our engagement with the state officials, and our engagement with the media, with our engagement with peers, so that we are drawing what you call inspiration and motivation from each other through a peer learning and a peer accountability system. Thank you so much, and I will be very happy to respond to it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. This is very insightful, and now I request Rita ji to help us understand that how women are actually dealing with this situation, because as a woman, as a worker, as a actually women are also bearing the burden of their families in this situation, and as a elected representatives, as a political champion, how women are actually dealing with this kind of situation in the states where you are working, and what kind of others are actually experiencing. So if you can throw some light on that, that will be very helpful. Hello.
Thank you,
Yes.
Anshuman. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Anshuman. And it was really wonderful listening to Joy. Great listening to Jagnananda. And my whole sharing is going to come from another space. And this space is of elected women leaders to village panchayats. And we work in 6 states, Bihar, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Odisha, and Karnataka. And therefore, my sharing is going to be from a perspective of what happens when a thing like this takes place, and how do the women galvanize themselves. Well, I need to share that very early on, when we just heard the first announcement of the lockdown, very, very early on, I would use that term, we set up a task force within the organization and immediately connected with all our partners and all our karyakartas, and the karyakartas further connected with, we roughly work with over 8,000 women, at one point of time. So to begin with, a marathon phone calls were made to all the 8,000 women. Then somewhere, I think it was done even twice. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you something very beautiful. The women instantly, because their connection with disease, their connection with pain, and their connection with poverty and hunger is so deep rooted that they became barefoot soldiers overnight. You know, when Joy, you were talking and saying that do panchayats have a role in disaster? I would say that I really don't even treat this as a disaster. This is a life-altering situation for each one of us. Life-transforming situation. And at this point, what needs to be done at the smallest level of governance, and to reach the last mile, and to reach the last person sitting impoverished in the poorest of the families, with information, with support, with food, is the final act. Whether it is in any act, constitution or not, it really doesn't matter, because that's what they do and that is what they need to do. And coming to elected women leaders, I think we immediately started to create WhatsApp messages on what is this whole COVID-19 and what needs to be done, what precautions have to be taken into consideration. And the WhatsApp message went instantly. It was a chain of communication. It reached every elected woman leader we work with. And simultaneously, we immediately sent up a WhatsApp message on the myths going around this disaster, as everybody's using that term. And what, therefore, scientifically needs to be looked at, and not in terms of, some kind of a myth. And that WhatsApp went up to every woman again. And we very early on immediately realized that this was the harvest period. And so we created a very wonderful, very apt WhatsApp on the whole issue of harvesting time for the farmers, and how you have to maintain social distance, what to do with your auzars and the tools that you are using. So, which was highly appreciated. But this is what we did at our end. But let me tell you one thing, the women on their own immediately, and we have beautiful pictures which we can share. Women immediately started to make masks at home, and those masks were distributed, hand washing, the entire, whatever the whole world is talking about today, haath dho lo, sabun rakho, safai rakho, the women got on to it without a minute's delay. And how did they reach out to every household? They will stand in the community and read out the WhatsApp message and say that you have to do this, you have to do this. But having said that, I also want to tell you that now, when the whole issue of reverse migration is taking place, the women are, we again have beautiful pictures, beautiful information, and stories where the women are looking at who has come back as a migrant laborer? Is the person sick? Does the person need medical attention immediately? Who needs to be informed? How that chain has to be created? In fact, in Uttarakhand, wonderfully, the elected women leaders have looked at every tourist or every incoming person who entered back the village and reported it to the next level of authority to say, such a such person has come in. Please check if this person is carrying any infection. देखो यार, ये काम जो है ना, ये लफ्जों में, बातों में, एक गवर्नमेंट लेवल पे, एक सरकारी लेवल पे भी होता है और इसकी बात भी होती है, लेकिन सबसे छोटे पैमाने पे एक गांव के स्तर पे एक पंचायत की महिला उसे निभा रही है, वो उसे कर रही है. she is the last प्यादा ऑफ गवर्नेंस, एंड आई यूज द वर्ड गवर्नेंस. मैं यहाँ डेमोक्रेसी की भी बात नहीं करना चाह रही हूँ, मैं तो गवर्नेंस की बात करना चाह रही हूँ, क्योंकि आज जो हो रहा है वहाँ गवर्नेंस, गुड गवर्नेंस ही संभाल पाएगी उसे. और वो महिलाएं कर रही हैं, दे आर रिपोर्टिंग द सिक. एंड देन व्हेन इट कम्स टू द होल इशू ऑफ राशन एंड जो गांव के स्तर पे पहुंचना चाहिए, और अगर पहुंचा है तो किस घर में जाना चाहिए. बिहार से कहानियां कि वो मांड में नमक डाल के खाने वाले घरों का नंबर इतना ज्यादा है, और उस परिवार में जहां मांड और नमक खाया जा रहा है, वहां महिलाओं का नाता उन परिवारों के साथ मन से है, दिल से है, और वो उन परिवारों के साथ जुड़ रही हैं, और वो इस बात को सुनिश्चित कर रही हैं कि क्या राशन उन घरों में पहुंच रहा है, कहाँ है. द होल इशू ऑफ अकाउंटेबिलिटी, मतलब कौन कहाँ हम बात कर रहे हैं. अकाउंटेबिलिटी अगर नहीं होगी तो हम कुछ भी कर लें, किसी भी पैमाने पर बात कर लें, ये कहीं भी कह लें कि ये पहुंच जाएगा, इसे इतने परिवारों की सुरक्षा हो जाएगी, इतने परिवारों को खाना मिलेगा, वो सब मिलेगा अगर इसमें अकाउंटेबिलिटी होगी. हमें ये भी अपने अपने क्षेत्रों से कहानियां और खबरें आ रही हैं कि जहां राशन आ रहा है उस राशन को इधर उधर भी हो रहा है, करप्शन के केसेस भी आ रहे हैं, तो महिलाएं उसे भी देख रही हैं. मेरी लिस्ट बहुत लंबी है, और फिर मैं आगे जाना चाहूंगी कि अब ये जो पूरा, जो कि कोई बात ही नहीं कर रहा है, कि इस पूरे जो हो रहा है हम सब लोगों के साथ, और जब मैं हम सब लोग कहती हूँ उसमें हम सब शामिल हैं और गांव भी शामिल है, वहाँ वायलेंस बहुत बढ़ रही है, उसकी बात करना बहुत जरूरी है. अगर मारपीट हो रही है तो सबसे पहले जो मारपीट है, जब भूख होती है, जब एक रोटी के लिए लड़ाई होती है, जब राशन के लिए लड़ाई हो रही है, और देयर आर स्टार्वेशन डेथ्स, तो वहां पे जब वायलेंस शुरू होती है तो घर से ही शुरू होती है. और फिर वो वायलेंस एक धर्रे पे जाके कि किसके पास है और किसके पास नहीं है और मेरा हक है, वो तो होनी ही होनी है. तो उसे कौन रोकेगा, उसे कौन आंकेगा, उसे कौन देखेगा. और ये मतलब एक एक बात को आप पूरे अगर आंकड़े में एक माला की तरह पिरोए, तो ये सारे काम पंचायत की महिलाएं ऑलरेडी कर रही हैं. और मैं ये कहूंगी कि अगर हिंदुस्तान को एक देश होने के नाते इतने $1 बिलियन 0.3% लोगों को अगर हमें इस कहर से या जो भी है, तो ये तो मतलब हमारे लेवल पे या हमारे सेमिनार्स में तो हम अच्छी बातें भी कर सकते हैं और अच्छी सोच भी जोड़ सकते हैं, लेकिन जिसे इसे उस घर तक डिलीवरी टू द लास्ट माइल, देयर इज नो शॉर्टकट टू इट, और वो कौन कर रहा है? पंचायत की महिलाएं कर रही है. मैं अभी अपनी बात यहीं खत्म करूंगी.
ये बहुत पावरफुल स्टोरीज हैं जो आपने महिलाओं के बारे में बताई, स्पेशली जो चुनी हुई महिला प्रतिनिधि हैं उनके बारे में आपने बताया. ऐसे बहुत कम उदाहरण हमें दूसरे राज्यों से देखने में मिल रहे हैं या सुनने में मिल रहे हैं. अब मैं योगेश जी को बुलाना चाहूंगा कि उनके क्या एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं मध्य प्रदेश के केस में, वहां पे पंचायतें किस तरह का रोल निभा रही हैं, और वहाँ पे किस प्रकार से अगर महिला प्रतिनिधि कुछ कर पा रहे हैं तो किस प्रकार से महिला प्रतिनिधि अपना रोल निभा रहे हैं? योगेश जी।
Thank you, Anshuman. Thank you, organizers. It's a great privilege to be part of this discussion around the Panchayat. I will share the experiences from Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. I think I've shared my presentation. Is it available there? Or can you hear me?
बिल्कुल हम सुन रहे हैं और देख भी रहे हैं सब कुछ.
That's right. That's good.
Yeah.
I think one of the first thing I would like to mention that in today's speech of the Prime Minister, he acknowledged the role of the states as well as Sthaniya Swaraj Sansthan. These are the two institutions he recognized. So I think I'm very happy that the national level of the panchayats is being, or the local government is being understood and recognized in this situation. Now, we have worked out our approach and guiding principle.
अंशुमन क्या हुआ, सुन नहीं पा रहे?
It's not audible.
हेलो, बिल्कुल सुन नहीं पा रहे, अभी सुन नहीं पा रहे योगेश भाई. Please.
Yogesh, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear also.
Okay. रीता जी को नहीं सुनाई दे रहा है.
अभी सुन रहा है, अभी सुन रहा है. हाँ जी, सुन रहा.
Thank you. So, so in this, I'll just quickly build that perspective and move to the experiences of Samarthan in the state of Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. This is an opportunity for the local governments to establish that they are the people's government, they are relevant, they have a comparative advantage over the state and the central government because they are closest to the people. So their relevance, sufficiency and effectiveness, this is the best time they can establish. So I see this as an opportunity for the local panchayats and local governments too. The second is that panchayats alone cannot do. There is a need for these community-based organizations, self-help groups, youth collectives, farmers collectives, committees of the panchayats to come together. So we have to think about a collective leadership in this situation to deal with such a crisis. The third is that what panchayats have been perceived to be more biased, feudal, this is an opportunity where they can showcase that they are able to reach out to the right people, provide them entitlements, figure out why inclusion is not there. So in spite of the typical situation where the people are left out, they have an opportunity to demonstrate and prove. There are two areas which have medium and long-term scope for panchayats. One is that this is the time when a lot of people, poor people, would look for sustainable livelihood. This is the time when they have to think about building their own Gram Swaraj concept, not only in the context of their panchayat, but larger context of the rural-urban continuum. How the block itself with the small and larger panchayats with diversity of production, diversity of skill set can become a Swaraj unit in itself to sustain these kind of crises in future also. And also they have to also develop a long-term plan for mitigating the climate change, addressing the climate change issues, because water is going to be a bigger issue in time to come with more and more hand washing that is required. There are more kind of disasters that may come where the people may have to come out. They'll have to prepare themselves to deal with other kind of climate change issues in the long run. But that is long run. What panchayats could do in these 21 days, we have been working in more than 50 blocks in both the states. They have been able to identify vulnerable families, provided them ration, at least wheat, rice, in some cases pulses, to the extent possible. The PDA supply had not come at that point in time. Whatever were the reserves they provided. In Chhattisgarh, panchayats have been given 100 quintals of rice, which they used and they provided. So that was one, I would say, clear contribution of panchayats that they could reach out to the poorest of the poor. The second is they are able to do the social distancing, messaging, and also behavioral change at the public places, whether these are hand pumps, PDF shops, building these circles, requesting people to stay away from each other. There are innumerous examples where community has contributed. The youth have collected money, community has contributed wheat, community has contributed other resources for the families which are in distress. So this is how this community contribution has also become a source of support for the panchayats. Many of the panchayats which were in have supported the migrants in transit, because many of the panchayats were on the roadside, people were moving out, they provided them food, they provided them water, and many of them have stayed back in these panchayats, so they provided the quarantine facilities in their panchayats, and also for the migrants who had come back in their village, those who had gone out. So that kind of facility also panchayats have been able to do quite well. Listing of returnee migrant has been done from the point of view of identifying who could be the potential carriers of the COVID virus. The list is limited with limited data, but I think there is a potential, as Jagdabhai said, that we can build a good inventory of the returnee migrants in this time, and they have provided ration to them. The usual services that panchayat provide in normal time, sanitization of road, drains, provision of masks, sanitizers, has also happened very efficiently in many of the panchayats. I can show you some of the pictures that this is how they are using the social distancing around the hand pump. This is how in Bijlon Panchayat of Sihor, whatever was the extra vegetables, they distributed to the poor. About 3 quintals of vegetables were distributed in 2 days' time. This is one panchayat, Sukuma, which is a left-wing affected panchayat area, and in one of the panchayat, 49 landless families were provided ration from the 14th Finance Commission fund. That panchayat used at their discretion. They took the risk without looking for any kind of instruction, and they provided that support. In Hindatola Gram Panchayat in Rajnandgaon, quarantine facilities have been created in panchayats and school building, and they have provided food. You can see young returnee migrants are living there. What panchayats could not do? One is that it is very difficult for them to retain returnee migrants in the quarantine centers, either in their homes or the public quarantine places created by them. People feel that they don't carry anything, there's no problem, they have come back safe and healthy, and why panchayat is insisting to do that. So there are conflicts. Panchayats are unable to deal with it because these are certain functions where you require more coercion. So that is one area where there are problems and issues they are facing. So wherever the health department is coming, taking swabs and putting the quarantine notices, those are the families which are being restricted, but not the rest of it. Now, they have provided support to the transit migrants for 14 days. They are fit and fine, and they are unable to figure out what to do with them because they can't go in a lockout situation, and they don't have enough provisions, and they don't know what to and how to sustain such migrants in long time to come. The third is rice and wheat is available, but oil, spices, pulses, detergent, soap is another important need of the poor that panchayat has to think, and in some of the areas they are working out, but by and large these are the areas where panchayat is still not thinking, and they have to and this administration will have to do something about it. Harvesting of the wheat crop is a concern. The sale has to be done. People have to repay the debts they have, and they normally do after selling their crop, the wheat crop. So the self-help groups, we are trying to encourage the self-help groups to extend credit facilities to the small and marginal farmers so that they can repay the debts and hold their crop for some more time, requesting panchayats to figure out a way to market the wheat of the village together. Health and nutrition services have come to a halt because most of the Anganwadi workers are not clear what they should do, and most of the ANMs are into the duty of finding out the patients of COVID. There is a need that we restore these services because pregnant women, lactating mothers, children who need to be immunized, children who need nutrition, their services have to be continued as early as possible, and panchayats will have to play, along with the district administration, a very proactive role in getting the functionaries. Social security benefits have to reach to the poor, to the old, single families. In 3 panchayats, we found in Mandla, there are about 40 people who are either living alone or who are very old and they can't do anything by themselves, and they need extra support in this situation. Panchayats also will have to build the grain bank, labor bank, cash bank, kind bank. This is the time when they will have to invest in building their own corpus in these forms. They can give cash to the labor at this time, and that can be encashed later by the panchayats, by the work labor people can do in MG and REGS and other works of the panchayats. So what are the challenges of the local government at the moment? One is that there's a high dependence on the government instructions. They have become used to receiving instructions. There's an overload. There is a frustration also because multiple instructions are coming. No government official is coming to the panchayats, but they're sending instructions. So there's a kind of a frustration with panchayats. They are unable to perform the way they would like to. This has also proved that the centralized fund transfer mechanisms set up with the view that they are more efficient, they can reach out to the panchayats faster. But the 14th Finance Commission money promised on the 3rd day by the government to transfer 30,000 rupees to the account of the panchayat has not reached yet. And panchayats are managing with their own personal accounts and personal resources. So if panchayats have their own resources in their own account, I think in these kind of emergencies, it is far more useful than the centralized systems. This is the time when the block and Zilla panchayats, the relevance of these panchayats has become more important, and we can recognize that because if the agriculture produce is to be sold, all the panchayats will have to come together. The block has to work out a complete plan of procuring these, the produce of the small and marginal farmers, figuring out how the mandis will perform, who will come first, and how all this. The banking has become an important area because many of the business correspondents are sitting either at the block or the big panchayats. Unless panchayats work out a plan, the route map, not only the single panchayat, the multiple of panchayats and the Zilla panchayat and Janpad panchayats have a role to play in figuring out that how these people can move safely and distribute the 500 rupees or other kind of benefits. NTFP collection is also of the similar kind. Similarly, the health services can be performed only when the block panchayats and Zilla panchayats will take a proactive role in working out a complete plan for that. Panchayats are still unable to see their role in developing local management system because crisis is so deep. One of the examples of the Kanke's Panchayat, Sivani, where 69% of the households had the kitchen garden. In the last 7 days, they could generate 8 quintals of vegetables and fruits. Banana also is one of the fruits they got. And that has made them self-reliant. So panchayats will have to think of more ways of making their own economic base self-reliant in whatever possible manner. As a civil society, we have to, in this situation, when the funds will flow in the name of emergency, we need not to rush and go reach to the people directly, trust the local government, use this institutional strength, use the community leadership and CBOs. That's extremely important. Strengthen the existing institutional mechanisms of PDS health services rather than establishing parallel systems, because we know we have the money and we have the power to reach out there. We need to continue to figure out who the marginalized people are, who will be in distress, build those lists, try to see that panchayats send these to the district administration, get the resources of the state exchequer as much as possible, and otherwise provide support to them. This is the time we build collaboration and consortium model, because in the speech of the Prime Minister, the role of civil society was not mentioned. And there's a need that we have to prove that as collective strength, we can complement, we can do bigger jobs, we have a larger role to play. And I think this is the time we have to demonstrate that. And we also, now this is the time, by the 3rd of May, we should come back with a long-term sustainability plan, what panchayats can do, what civil society can do with the communities in post-COVID situation, as well as whatever is the long-term for the COVID. Thank you very much. I'll look forward to questions and suggestions.
This will be useful. Can you switch off your presentation? So we are waiting for Dr. Mr. Paul, Dilip Kumar Paul from NIRD, but somehow he is not able to connect. So we'll check when he will able and we'll listen to him what NIRD is doing. Or in case Dr. Dilip, if you can hear me, can you please raise your hand, because I am not able to identify you in the attendee list. Okay. So we'll open for question and answer this thing. And
Anshuman, he is now a panelist.
yes, sir.
He is now a panelist.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, okay.
In the name of Kathiresan.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Dr. Dilip, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you.
Okay, okay. Thanks. That's great. Can you switch on your video also?
Well, he can talk.
Okay, okay, sir. So, okay, now you are visible. That's
Okay.
great.
Okay.
Yes, we want to hear like what NIRD is doing, and because in the recently we have heard that NIRD has launched an initiative for the capacity building of Gram Panchayats to monitor the migrants coming from various cities. So we want to hear more about this program and what kind of other capacity building programs NIRD has started in order to help Gram Panchayats to deal with this situation. So it's over to you, Dr. Dilip.
Yes. Immediately after the problem came to it took a big step. A team of officials in NIRDPR, we worked together, and Dr. Reddy developed an article, prepared an article, and focusing on the roles and responsibilities of panchayats, what they should do, how they can stop spreading of this corona 19, and also on the roles and responsibilities that Gram Panchayat as local institutions, local government can do. These have been published in as many as 14 newspapers across the country in Hindi and English. Secondly, what we did, we developed as many as 7 videos. One of the video having 15 minutes duration, it briefly described the do's and don'ts based on the Government of India guidelines, how to maintain social distancing, how to do the other respiratory hygiene measures and all that, but focusing more on what panchayats can do, what panchayats need to do. I give you some examples what featured in our the videos. Firstly, the Gram Panchayats were asked to form teams of volunteers with courageous youths and also self-help group leaders and the youths from each and every ward, and to move from house to house without asking people to assemble anywhere, and to brief them on what to do, first to prevent the spread of this disease, and secondly, how to address the issues of the immigrants, that is the laborers who were coming back. Then 2 measures were taken. First, the volunteers under leadership of the ward members that is elected representatives, advise the households to call their members who were staying outside, advising them not to come back, and also to try to take support from the respective state governments. That is one. And secondly, whoever have already come back, to quarantine them in maybe school buildings, in maybe other community centers. So these were the preliminary measures. Now came the question of how the wage earners will survive. Then our advice was that whatever fund unspent balance was with the Gram Panchayat, without considering now which fund provides it or not, to feed, I mean, if community kitchen is not necessary, to provide food grains so that they do not have to sleep hungry. And secondly, to provide them with other measures. The first video was that the next challenge was how to transmit the video, how to disseminate the video among 253,000 Gram Panchayats. Now what we did, we have 4,000 certified master trainers, and they maintain liaison with the neighboring Gram Panchayats. We asked them to advise them to develop, to form WhatsApp groups, and in a multiplied manner to disseminate to send the videos through WhatsApp in such a way that the 253 Gram Panchayats can have access to the videos and to get the instructions or other advisories of what can be done. In collaboration with the Ministry of Panchayati Raj, Government of India, and also with the state Panchayati Raj departments, we did this. Every state is not like Kerala. In Kerala, Panchayats were very strong to have done a lot many things. Kerala government's initiative was also wonderful. But in the other states where Panchayats are not that strong, a lot of measures were taken as per our advice. And we have several WhatsApp groups through which we have seen how wonderfully Panchayats are now providing support to the people in distress. The most important is the immigrants, that is the people who have come back. In some cases, they were being treated in a very cruel manner. They were not allowed entry into the village. Our advice was how to quarantine them in a civilized, or rather in a sensitive manner, so that they won't have to suffer. And secondly, how to make all the ration shops open and to provide food grains at the doorstep, to deliver food grains at the doorstep of each and every household through the volunteer groups. It might not have taken place in all the 253,000 Gram Panchayats, but in majority of the Gram Panchayats, these were done, especially through innovative measures, exerting their imagination. A large number of Gram Panchayats have done so many things. Secondly, we developed a few more videos, how to tackle with the vegetables, what measures should be taken for making the vegetables safe, and also the grocery items, and Ayurvedic and home remedies for preventing this infection. Another video was developed to make hand sanitizer locally for bulk use, and another video was developed to how to make cloth-based masks by self-help groups. And the other thing was how to maintain the social distancing measures and to stop it and to tackle it. Another important thing here must be mentioned, that as per National Policy on Disaster Management 2009, published by Government of India, Gram Panchayats are local authority for disaster management. You may technically call it disaster or not. It is not the right time to discuss this. But Gram Panchayats must come up with a disaster plan depending on their local wisdom and making people aware about the do's and don'ts. So it was a great challenge on our part to disseminate these videos and also the other do's and don'ts to such a huge number of Gram Panchayats. In Kerala, it was not much required because Kerala is different. But the rest of the country, West Bengal also, there are a large number of Gram Panchayat which, without waiting for the government to come up with guidelines, they did a lot many things. And we have also, through our videos and other channels, we have disseminated the good practices so that the other Gram Panchayats could come up with this. And the two, three other things what we developed is we have our own online learning management portal. There we have developed 36 topics so that anyone, and majority of the Gram Panchayats have that capacity to have access to those learning management portals where the do's and don'ts are there, and also how to maintain the economy to the extent possible right now. That is going to be a great disaster after some time, but how to do it right now. And then there was an online training through Zoom app. So the outreach was not as much as expected, but it was a measure taken by NIRDPR and other messaging app and outreach through WhatsApp groups, through our certified master trainers, as I told you, and dissemination through social media. Now we are preparing ourselves with learning modules on how to tackle the economic situation, the economic disaster that is going to take place, how to give employment to the people who would be staying back at the village. Definitely they would not go back to their places to work right now. So how to tackle that? How different programs like Manrega and 15th Finance Commission grant, 50% of it is untied, and own source revenue of the Gram Panchayats can be utilized so that people do not have to suffer. God forbid, if there is no much disaster, if the disaster does not take a very bad shape like as it is in the European countries and USA, I hope with the resources that Panchayats have, the Panchayats will be able to tackle the economic disaster that is going to happen. And we will be able to, and Panchayats will be able to give employment to the persons after the program is. After this dangerous situation is over, that is, normalcy comes back. That is the measure taken and going to be taken by NIRD in short.
Thank you, Dr. Dilip. This is very useful. Now we are opening up for question and answers from participants. So panelists, you can also see there is a question and answer icon in the bottom of the screen. We have already like 29 questions from the participants. Few of these questions are directly targeted to the panelists, and a few of these questions are in general. So you may like to answer these questions during this round, and we can also take some questions from participants.
Thank you very much for helping me talk, and also I was not very helpless. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Dr. Atul Pratap Singh is raising his hand. So Dr. Atul.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Actually, this session is based on reverse migration, basically how PRI are dealing with that. And what I have realized and experienced during this lockdown phase, these migrants laborers are facing double edge deprivation. On the one, due to social fabric, actually, means on the basis of caste and all, right? So this reverse migration is just because of distress actually among them. So the most important thing is whether these PRIs are having human face or not. This is the first and foremost concern at my end, what I feel actually. And the second thing is, how do we look at the people at margin? Because our perspective, our looking to them is very important. And moreover, we have to realize that the laborers are chasing to their psychological space actually, and those who are not reaching to their places, they are stuck in and around Delhi or Mumbai or other places or outskirts of these places. What can be done, that should be the prime concern at our end. And the last thing that I would like to raise is, it's I would like to call it physical distance with social solidarity instead of social distance. Because if you are calling it social distance, that means something else actually. This is what I feel actually. So these are few aspects that I wanted to raise during this webinar actually. So,
thank you, Dr. Atul. So what we'll do, we'll take like 4 or 5 questions, and then if any one of our panelists would like to answer. So next is Shravani. Shravani.
Sir, I wanted to ask that is the 1,500 rupees given to all the states, and who is responsible for the follow-up?
Okay.
This is to Javangara, sir.
Okay. Can I clarify right now, Suman?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, this 1,500 rupees is given by the Construction Workers Board and implemented through the Labor Department Act. So Labor Department is implementing it, and Construction Workers Board is meeting the cost of this 1,500 rupees. But the distribution has not done, effectively so far, but it has started in a big way.
Okay. Next we have Ishrat.
All over India, sir?
Hello, Shravani, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask, is this all over India?
This is all over India, and the central government has also announced that the money each of the state is having under the construction board authority will be distributed to those who are registered as the laborers, right? Though many of the people don't have those cards, even if they are working as laborers. So that is a challenge we'll have to deal with. So the data suggests that a large number of migrants are coming back do not have those cards.
Thank you, sir.
Ishrat.
Yeah. My question is, like, these migrant workers, reverse migration, what is happening? A lot of youth are coming back and people are coming back. And one is the economic aspect of it, and also the food related. All these things are taken care by the panchayats. But I think in this time of pandemic, we have a lot of mental health issues. And would panchayats will also be equipped to pick up these things, because otherwise it will also become a huge impact on the entire society.
Okay, thank you, Ishrat. We'll take 1 or 2 more questions. So next is Imam Ansari. हेलो या
मैं हिंदी में बोल सकता हूँ क्या सर?
बिल्कुल हिंदी में बोलिए।
हाँ सर, ये है, मैं झारखंड से बोल रहा हूँ, लोहरदगा जिला से। और ऐसा है सर कि हमने क्वेश्चन आंसर वाला में भी क्वेश्चन लिखा है ये है कि बहुत सारे फैमिली ऐसे हैं जो रिमोट एरिया में रहते हैं और वो बहुत पुअर हैं, जिनको अभी तक कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं मिल पाई है। और बहुत जगह सूचित भी किया गया है, एज ए ऑर्गेनाइजेशन मैंने भी सूचित किया है कि भाई इन लोगों को कुछ भी नहीं मिल पाया और काफी प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहे हैं। हम लोगों को जितना हो सकता है संभव मदद करने की कोशिश किया है, बट अभी तक उन लोग को 10 किलो चावल में, लार्ज फैमिली है, वो पॉसिबल नहीं हो पा रहा है सर्वाइवल। सिर्फ चावल मिलने से काम नहीं चल रहा है, क्योंकि चावल भर से तो गुजारा नहीं चलेगा। ऐसे कई फैमिलीज हैं और परिवार हैं उस जगह रहते हैं रिमोट एरिया में। तो सर पीआरआई जो है अपने स्तर से क्या कर सकती है उन लोगों के लिए?
जी, हेलो, सो नवीन जी का क्वेश्चन ले लें। हेलो,
thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Anshuman, and good to hear all these speakers. I have written my question to the question answer section. You can see one is for Jagdananda ji, the other one is for Dilip Paul. Can you read out and then, or should I, or do you want me to read it out?
Can you repeat?
So one question is to Jagdananda ji, which is about, I heard came to know about the funds being given to the Gram Panchayat by the state government in Odisha, and to respond and prepare for some COVID situation in their respective panchayats. So how are those funds? That's one question to Jagdananda ji. And the second question is to Dilip ji. Are these AVs and other COVID support materials developed by NIRD available on their website?
Let me first start, Jagdanand. You know, these 5 lakh rupees, which was initially given to the Gram Panchayats, are mostly spent on setting up quarantine centers, undertaking a bit of what you call health hygiene, good practice, like hand washing stations, etc., etc. And then third is running the kitchens, actually, food kitchens for people who are in distress. So I don't know whether a subsequent refill has been given, but the initial grant was 5 lakhs and it went out of the SDRF, the State Disaster Response Fund.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jagdananda ji.
Dilip ji, can you answer the other part?
Should I answer?
Yes.
The question put. Firstly, migrant laborers are not the only groups which are in distress. The local wage earners, the most distressed households who do not have enough strength to work and earn their livelihoods. So broadly, these 3 categories: migrant laborers, the migrant laborers who are remaining at their places and who are not being able to come, and panchayats, we have advised the panchayats to request them not to come back, to stay where they are. This is one category. Second category, we have already come back. Third category is the local wage earners who cannot live without earning daily wages.
My question, hello.
And fourth category is the most indigent households. So these are the 4 categories. These are, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear? Yes, sir. These are the 4 categories, not just migrant laborers. The local wage earners, the number of local wage earners is much more than the migrants who have come back. So Gram Panchayats will have to take care of all these groups without considering under which fund they will do it. It is not possible to run Manrega scheme right now under the circumstances. And so whatever unspent balance is at their hand, we have advised them to utilize it on an expectation, not on condition, on an expectation that either the state government or the central government will definitely come up with some disaster fund, disaster management fund, to tackle the situation. The immediate issue is to save the lives of these people. And we have not found any example. Maybe there may be one or two stray examples here and there. People are not remaining unfed. It is not because of the government policy. It is not because only of the government policy. It is not only because of the state government policy, but it is broadly on the responsibilities being discharged by the panchayats that people are not remaining unfed. Up to this, they can tackle the situation up to another 10-15 days. But we do not know what will happen after 10-15 days if this situation continues. Still, panchayats are now, I know an example in West Bengal, one Gram Panchayat Sarpanch has appealed to all the better of people, better of households to stand by the poor people with food grains and other requirements so that they can survive. So this call we have given to all the better of households through our different media so that they can come up, they can save their own co-villages. If government lies at a distance, both central government lies at far more distance. So better than the state government and the central government, it is the local government who are still now tackling the situation. But nobody, I think, can tell what will happen after 10-15 days. So panchayats are playing their roles, not just in Kerala, but across the country to the extent possible. Some are doing a lot more than expected, and some may not be doing that much, but people still, till now, people are not unfed. Let us hope that situation be over by one more month so that normalcy can come back.
So Dilip ji, one of the question which Naveen has asked, that whether these videos are available on NIRT website.
Yes, I got it. Sorry, I forgot. They are available in our website with linkage, and I am thinking of sending you all our videos and all the linkages, all the links of the videos, and also the write-ups, and also the newspaper, the press release, and also the news elements that came up in 14 newspapers. I will send you, and you can share it with all.
Thank you.
But readily they are available in our website. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay. So we are slightly short of time. So what we'll do, we'll take another couple of questions. मेरा जो participants हैं उनसे भी आग्रह रहेगा, अगर वो थोड़ा अपने प्रश्नों को या अपने जो भी रिफ्लेक्शन है उसको थोड़ा ब्रीफ में अगर वो रखेंगे तो ज्यादा यूजफुल रहेगा. And if they have very pressing question which is directly targeted to some of the panelists, please ask that question. But we'll take another like 4 or 5 questions and then we'll consolidate the discussion. Okay. So I am Chetan ji, आपसे मैं कहूँगा कि आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे हैं. चेतन जी RSDC से.
Yes. देखिए अभी तक हमने 11 सजेशन जो है वो यहाँ पे रखे हुए हैं. तो उसके ऊपर चर्चा हो जाती है तो बेहतर हो जाएगा, क्योंकि जो एक्सपीरियंस गांव का जो है, हम जो महाराष्ट्र में पंचायत राज के ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं वो उसके एक्सपीरियंस के बेस पे ये हमने सजेशन आपके सामने रखे. दैट्स इट. थैंक यू.
थैंक यू चेतन जी. ये हम सभी जो हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं उनके साथ सभी के साथ शेयर भी करेंगे. वो स्क्रीन पे दिख भी रहे हैं.
Yes.
उस पे कोई फर्दर कोई क्वेश्चंस होंगे, कोई क्वेरीज होंगी, कोई और रिफ्लेक्शंस होंगी तो हम उसको ऐड लेंगे, उसको लेंगे. Sophia,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. And my question is, I'm working in Habitat for Humanity India, and we do construction for housing and toilets, and my role is training and awareness. So my question is for Mr. Joy. Can I ask 2 questions?
Yes.
Okay, so first one is for Mr. Joy. I want to ask, because we in our organization are also discussing about what could be our immediate and long-term plan for the wash and sanitation. So when we know that these migrant population is going to villages and they will also come back also. maybe post-COVID or in future. So what is how we can build resilient rural communities and urban communities? What are some points, if you, Mr. Joy, can share with us that we should include in our long-term plans to build resilient communities in the villages, because COVID is now new normal. So we have to be prepared in future and also for the urban settings. That is my first question for Mr. Joy. And the second one I want to ask Madam Rita Ji, because I also work with women and menstrual hygiene. So my concern is for the women, how we are making sure in the villages that they are accessible to the menstrual hygiene material. And suppose if they need any consultation related to gynec in this situation, number one. And second one is also if they are facing any domestic violence. So in villages, how we are tackling that? What is the system that you are working, so I can learn from you? Thank you very much.
Who should take first?
So we'll take another one more question, and then okay, if Rita ji you want to.
Yeah, Anshuman. You know what? I just want to say that as of now, in some states, there is already helplines opened for women to connect with on issues of domestic violence that is taking place. And the role that we are playing is that we are putting those helpline numbers and everything in our messaging to the women, and being very, very proactive in our role with them to access the helpline, to report if there's domestic violence, and to seek help. And also you should know that in most of the states, in almost every state that we work in, there are women's associations, federations, Jagruk Manch, which are trying to collectively look at the issue of violence against women and domestic violence in the houses and address it collectively, so that there is a peer pressure and the women feel protected, and she has a reference point to go to when it comes to such a situation. And I also want to tell you that we work very closely with the adolescent girls in most of our states, and the adolescent girls are currently like not only barefoot soldiers, but they are also very, very actively involved in issues of menstrual hygiene, and they are becoming like the future of their own villages and communities, where they become not only a reference point, but also information carriers to deal with issues like that.
Thank you, Rita ji. Joy?
Yeah. So actually, Sophia, thanks for the question. And some of the questions I had answered during the session itself. So I've typed it and put it in. So the specific question is very relevant at the moment. See, we had actually done the major campaign on open defecation free panchayats and all. But then it's actually going beyond that at the moment. And one we had actually initiated was the Break the Chain campaign. And then the follow-up of that, especially social distancing, but the Break the Chain campaign, where hand washing and all other things are included. And we have also made protocols and guidelines on various aspects of wash and sanitation, especially, and especially with regard to the migrant laborers. Once the panchayats go to them to take stock of the situation and then rearrange their facilities, one of the initiatives is also to have information IEC on wash and especially sanitation. And from there, actually, we need to take it forward. So this is an opportunity. So once, at the moment, it is just for COVID alone, but in the long run, this also leads to behavioral change, which is an important aspect of WASH. So I think that way we need to have a strategy beyond the COVID. And COVID can be a take-off platform. Thanks.
Thank you, Joy. I think this is very useful conversation, and I still saw like another 4 hands. but we are also running short of time. So may I now invite Dr. Rajesh Tandon to debrief this and what are the key takeaways from this discussion and how we are going to move forward.
Thank you very much, Anshuman. Wonderful to listen to the experiences from around the country, and especially grateful to that Dr. Reddy couldn't join, but Mr. Dilip Paul was able to join. Thank you, Mr. Paul. I think there are two sets of takeaways. One are immediate action takeaways on the role of panchayats. And I think several people have talked about this, particularly in light of the extension of the lockdown till 3rd of May. We have another 20-25 days, and it may even be longer. This is the time for panchayats to take greater responsibility in ensuring food and shelter. Food, because there are many people who are in the village itself who were dependent on economic activity which has stopped. And therefore, now whatever resources state governments are making available, like in Odisha or Rajasthan or through the labor fund, etc., we know that this money never reaches immediately. We know that all the 500 rupees which have been transferred to people's Jan Dhan account, poor people are not able to encash it because they can't go to the block headquarters and they can't find banking correspondence, as was mentioned. So this is where the local Palli Samaj, ward panchayats and Gram Panchayat leadership must ensure food and shelter for all in the coming period. They will have to dip into the whatever is available at the village level at this juncture. The second immediate action that is required is in terms of spreading awareness. As has been mentioned, many women panchayat leaders are playing this role. Information has been shared from various sources, because in the absence of authentic information, all kinds of myths, rumors, and also fears propagate. So, people think that corona is traveling in the air. Corona is not traveling in the air. It is only transmitted if you are coming in contact with an infected person close by. And that's why the distancing. So this awareness generation work, again, panchayats can do. I think the third area that panchayats need to focus on immediately is how to make agricultural produce in the villages, vegetables, horticulture produce, fruits, harvesting for rabi crop, but also other produce like the forest produce, non-timber forest, minor forest produce, how it can be marketed and how it can be saved from being destroyed. And this is where the panchayats have to come up with some innovative, thoughtful ideas. And again, it cannot be done at the level of Gram Panchayat. And so, as has been pointed out, connecting with block panchayat will be essential, because that's where this link is. Next point that has been mentioned, and that is, I think, preparing for the large number of migrants to return whenever the lockdown is lifted. If it is lifted on 3rd, you can imagine first week of May, hordes of people will return. They will return now not only because they are stranded, but also because they want to reconnect with their families. We must appreciate that. It is not just that they want to run away from wherever they are located, but they want to also connect with their family in the face of this pandemic. And so, what services will be available to them? Preparation of their families, of their host families where they will return, so that stigma and those kinds of prejudices don't come into play, and certain degree of self-isolation and quarantine is practiced. And this is, I think, an important task. In the medium term, I think the example that has been provided for Kerala is an example that all state governments need to work on. When the situation is dire like this, when a disaster of this kind happens, only local action, only frontline action, only local governance is good governance. No amount of instructions or pictures or videos from the top are going to make a difference. I would encourage, for example, NIRD to stimulate all state institutes of rural development and all state governments to prepare panchayats as they are being prepared in Kerala and some other states. Because CBOs in Kerala, Kudumshri groups, SHG groups are working with panchayats in Kerala over a period of time. Panchayats in Kerala prepared disaster management plans. The many other panchayats have not prepared. In some of the panchayats in Odisha are prepared because they have been victims of cyclone and other such disasters rapidly. But that has not been the case in Uttar Pradesh, in Madhya Pradesh, in parts of Rajasthan or Bihar. Only panchayats which get flooded every year in North Bihar have prepared some rudimentary disaster management plans. It means that panchayats need to be at the center of future social and economic development planning. And that will also happen when panchayats will take responsibility for activities other than just rural development. And this is an anomaly that at the national level, Ministry of Panchayati Raj and Ministry of Rural Development hang together. Ministry of Panchayati Raj, in my view, should be holding Ministry of Health and Water and Sanitation and Skill Development and Livelihood equally accountable, not just rural development. And that is precisely why, in the absence of that kind of empowerment and strengthening of panchayats at the local level, that where the Anganwadi and the Balwadi and the midday meals and the nutrition food is not available, panchayats have not been able to take over that function because they feel they are waiting for instructions from the top. They have been made to feel dependent. Ultimately, the larger lesson from this pandemic is, and this larger lesson is required even after the lockdown is over, because as has been mentioned, economic emergency will continue. The people's lives and economic lives have been disrupted, not just the health lives. So panchayats need to be strengthened. I would think that NIRD should support all SIRDs and state governments to think differently towards panchayat. Why should panchayats be waiting for instructions from the top to deploy their surplus resources or local resources from one fund to another, as Mr. Paul mentioned? So this is a larger lesson that I am hearing, and I think this is something that all of us need to work towards. Even when money is transferred to panchayat, they in many parts of the country will lack capacities and motivation and the confidence to use that money adequately. In Rajasthan, we learned that the local level core group that has been formed to respond to COVID does not have panchayat representatives leadership. You cannot run it only by officials. And if you perpetuate that, you make panchayat leaders and other community-based organizations lose the trust and confidence that is so essential for self-governance and for frontline good governance. It is the social capital at the local level which will nurture capacities to play a bigger role in the time to come, and to look at options which are locally rooted, locally workable, locally feasible in economic, health and social field. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Anshuman.
Thank you, sir. And I think we have already taken another more 15 minutes more as per the scheduled time. I would like to thank all the participants Dr. Joy Elman, Jagdananda ji, Rita ji, Yogesh ji, Dilip ji, and Raj bhai, for this wonderful discussion we have. This is a starting point where we can bring in our experiences, learn from each other, and do what best for the Panchayati Raj institutions. And this is the starting of a learning community, I would say that. And this learning community should learn from each other and will definitely disseminate lessons to others also. I also feel that there are a lot of questions still needs to be answered. We'll definitely get back to you with answers to all your questions, all your queries. And I just received an email from NIRD with all the links, video links and all. So we'll send all the material, all the links, all the other what is happening in other forums, all the discussion points we'll share with you. And thank you very much for your valuable time.
I have a short point. I have a short point.
Please, sir, please.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to know, in the presence of Dilip from NIRD and the NIRD team present, you see the village level disaster management plans, which has been initiated in Orissa in a big way. I think Panchayat level disaster plan has not become a reality so far. This is a wonderful opportunity because this is a biological disaster, and for biological disaster, NDMA has issued guidelines actually, but the guideline has to be refined now in the context of what we have done. So I would like to get into another conversation at some point of time as to how to convert the village level disaster plans to a Panchayat disaster management plan in the context of a biological
Anshuman, unmute. Anshuman, unmute.
So this is very wonderful suggestion, Jagdaji, and we'll try to organize another webinar around this question in the coming days. And I think this is very helpful. Rita ji, you want to say something?
No, Anshuman, thank you so much for organizing it. Rajesh, your sum up was very, very wonderful, apt, absolutely. And I enjoyed listening to all the panelists, and great initiative. And as you rightly said, let's kind of continue and have the next one as soon as we can. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
And we'll reconnect definitely shortly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.